No Man's Sky is entirely unrecognisable since its initial launch in 2016, and the game has even drastically changed in the past 12 months alone, especially with the recent huge Worlds Part 1 update. So I'm going to take a closer look at the current state of the game in 2025 to figure out whether it's worth diving into for the first time, or whether it's worth revisiting if you haven't played it for a while. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get stuck in. First of all, let's talk about updates, because it's pretty well known that Hello Games release multiple major free updates for No Man's Sky every single year that improve the game and in some cases change it completely, a bit like what happened in 2024. In fact, in 2024, not only did we get the Worlds Part 1 update, which was the biggest update to the game in like 4 years or something, but we also got a feature that players had been asking about for years, almost since the original release to be honest, and that was of course ship customization. Though I think a more accurate term for it would be ship building. Either way, it's now possible to make a custom ship from scratch, and that update came along with a long overdue overhaul to the space stations, which was a nice touch as well. Going back to the Worlds Part 1 update for a second, this was a bit of a game changer for both No Man's Sky and Hello Games, because the update itself introduced massive leaps in immersion, including improved water and cloud visuals, increased planetary diversity, refined graphics, and a whole host of other features. But perhaps most importantly, because of this major update, the player count on No Man's Sky increased significantly, and on some platforms that increase was as large as 400%, which is just staggering. Usually when Hello Games release a new update, you do see a spike in player count, which then tails off after a few weeks, but this latest one happened for a much longer time, and the player count has remained overall higher ever since, just about. So, Worlds Part 1 was huge, but perhaps the most exciting thing about this is that there is going to be a Worlds Part 2, which should release at some point this year. In fact, it may even be the next major update, who knows. But why am I going on about updates? Well, the quick answer would be these content updates evolve No Man's Sky and make it better multiple times every year at no extra cost. The slightly longer answer would be, if you're looking to get into No Man's Sky for the first time, you can be rest assured that the game will continue improving over the months and years that you're playing it, even if you play it on and off over the course of those years. Now, what this means for players who have previously played No Man's Sky and are perhaps thinking of coming back from their hiatus, these updates mean the game you're coming back to is going to be significantly different from what it was when you last played it. There will be new features, new visuals, new weapons, ships, and everything in between. On top of that, Hello Games have come out and said that they also have so much more to add in terms of updates in the future, so the game's going to continue evolving, continue improving, and continuing to give you new things to do and discover. And finally, the game goes on sale whenever there is a major update coming out, so there is another incentive to try it out. Moving on from updates, I suppose one question new or perhaps returning players want to know is, what are the standout features of the game in 2025? Now, the obvious one would be, of course, exploration. No Man's Sky offers literally limitless exploration, with an entire universe waiting for you to discover. With over 250 galaxies and 18 quintillion planets, the game is in fact so big you'll never be able to explore all of it. In fact, you won't even come remotely close to exploring even a fraction of it, if I'm being totally honest. Now, previously, one criticism I had around the exploration side of things is, once you've played the game for as long as I have, what new aspects are there for me to discover? And that's where the updates come back in. Worlds Part 1 improved this dramatically last year, and this year it looks like we're going to be getting further changes in this area as well, which I cannot wait for. Another one of my favourite features, and probably one of the best features in No Man's Sky, is expeditions. Each year, Hello Games release multiple new expeditions in the game, which can take anywhere from a couple of hours to a couple of days to complete, depending on how much you explore whilst you're doing them. These all vary with what tasks you have to do and what rewards you get from them, and over the years I've collected numerous unique ships, armoured jetpacks, amongst other things completing these expeditions, and they're definitely a good reason to come back to the game, as they actually give you totally brand new content, quests, well, multiple times each year. Now, some players enjoy getting involved in the combat side of things in No Man's Sky, and why not, eh? It has been changing and improving especially over recent years, so you can get involved in big space battles where you can take down freighters, get stuck into starship dogfights, or you can take on some sentinels down on the planet's surface for a change of scenery if you so desire. Combat for a while was a bit underwhelming in No Man's Sky. It didn't really pose a challenge at all, and it wasn't that interesting, but the good news is Hello Games have both enhanced this, so it's a tad more difficult, and improved it multiple times in recent years, both on the planet and in space. So it's quite likely they're going to continue doing this year as part of other updates. For me personally, my favourite standout feature in the game has to be base building. And not necessarily me building a base, but me visiting other players' bases, because other players are far more talented base builders than I am. Now, if you've been watching my channel for a while, you'll know that I do multiple videos every year showcasing other players' bases because they are freaking amazing. But the base building feature itself allows for complete freedom in what you want to create, whether that be a castle, a roller coaster, a mining outpost, a sculpture, an underwater city, or something entirely different. The only limit to base building in the game is the number of base building parts you can use, and hopefully we'll be getting more of those this year because Hello Games often slip some in under the radar as part of the previously mentioned major updates. Right, next up, let's talk about the story mode in No Man's Sky, or what we can call a story mode, I guess. If you're coming to No Man's Sky expecting an in-depth narrative in space, you're going to be a little bit disappointed. But that's not to say there isn't a story mode in the game, because there is, but it's just not the main purpose of No Man's Sky. You don't come into a game like this expecting like a Witcher 3 level story, but instead you come to it, well, to do whatever the hell you want really. And that ties in nicely to progression within the game actually. So even though there is a story in No Man's Sky, it is in no way tied to your progression at all. So I'm talking about things like exosuit upgrades, multi-tool upgrades, starship upgrades, freighter upgrades, getting money and nanites to buy these upgrades, unlocking new base building parts, and so on. The game gives you a true sense of freedom, so you can learn things on your own, you can explore however you like, and there really is total and absolute freedom in No Man's Sky, and that is pretty rare to come across in games these days. So all that I've gone over so far is all well and good. The game is massive, it gives you unlimited exploration potential, there are constant updates each year to keep it fresh and new with new features and enhancements, but how does the game perform with all of this? Well, I'll give this from my perspective. So I play No Man's Sky on the PlayStation 5 and have done for a number of years. Before that I had it on the PlayStation 4. So for me, it performs really well, and it's incredibly rare for me to have any issues or crashes when I've been playing the game. I can't even remember the last time it crashed on me, to be honest, but I have heard other players have the occasional issue now and then, especially if those players are visiting massive bases with 3,000 parts or more. But more often than not, these issues seem to be on the older consoles or less performant PCs. So we're talking about PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and less performant PCs, obviously. Now, on current gen consoles and higher end PCs, it performs really, really good, and on top of that, it looks freaking great as well. So if you're on any of those platforms, you're not going to be having any technical issues playing the game. Up until now, everything in this video comes across as overwhelmingly positive for No Man's Sky, and rightly so. But it wouldn't be right of me to do a video like this telling you guys if the game is worth it or not without highlighting at least some small imperfections or drawbacks to the game. And the main one for me is, and I've said this a few times over the years, is No Man's Sky happens to be as wide as an ocean but as deep as a puddle. So what do I mean by that exactly? Well, we all know the exploration potential in this game is limitless with the amount of planets in the game. But once you've visited those planets, there isn't actually that much to do on them. I mean, sure, you can scan creatures, gather resources, visit settlements, go look out for points of interest and whatnot, but that's about it. And not to mention the on-planet points of interest are exactly the same on every single planet, and they are tiny. Something I really hope Hello Games are going to address in a Worlds Part 2 update. Expeditions and base building are probably two of the most in-depth things about No Man's Sky, and they can both easily take up a lot of hours. But a lot of the rest of the game is lacking just a little bit. Take for example the Nexus missions and space station missions. These are all a little bit simple, a little bit repetitive, and I literally never do them anymore. And for someone who's played No Man's Sky for countless hours over a number of years, like myself, visiting planets has now become a little bit repetitive as well, because I've basically seen all the game has to offer with them. Of course they're a little bit unique in their own way, but once you've spent God knows how many hours in this game, nothing surprises you anymore. Now obviously this is slowly being improved as time goes on, and maybe I need to take a little break from the game myself, but they're just my thoughts. If you are new to the game, or you're coming back after a couple of years break, you can literally spend hundreds of hours in the game before you get to the stage that I'm at, so you don't have to worry about that. After all, no game is perfect, is it? So what does the future hold for No Man's Sky in 2025 and beyond? Well, one thing is for damn sure, there are going to be multiple major content releases for the game this year. And hopefully that includes a Worlds Part 2 update, which could be just as big, if not bigger, than the Worlds Part 1 update was. Now what gets added as part of these other updates is purely speculation at this point, but there will also be a few expeditions added in for good measure as well, no doubt. I think 2025 is going to be similar to 2024 for No Man's Sky, with a couple of excellent major updates and some really neat smaller additions along with them. Beyond 2025, however, I do think that the updates are going to start to slow down. Not because No Man's Sky will be 10 years old and there's not much more to add, but because of Light No Fire. Now this is the next major game being released by Hello Games, and it was announced over a year ago in December of 2023. So it's only logical to think that the closer that game gets to release, the less time and effort will be put into No Man's Sky, especially considering Hello Games are only a small team, and updating a behemoth like No Man's Sky while also delivering another behemoth like Light No Fire just isn't feasible. That's not to say No Man's Sky will cease to get updates, they might just be smaller or there will be less of them. So what is my verdict on whether No Man's Sky is worth it in 2025? Well, you can probably guess if you've gotten this far in the video that I would highly recommend playing No Man's Sky this year to anyone basically, because it is a truly great game and it is a totally different experience from what it was when it launched a whopping 9 years ago. Can't believe it's turning 9 years old already. But it's going to continue getting brand new content updates for the foreseeable future, and its community is going incredibly strong. Sure, it has one or two drawbacks, but tell me a game that doesn't. If you're on the fence about diving into the game for the first time, I would suggest waiting for the game to go on sale, because it does every year multiple times when updates come out. But if you're wanting to dive right in, then go right ahead, you will not be disappointed. And there you have it folks, there is why I think No Man's Sky is definitely worth playing in 2025. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you are still here, it would be totally awesome if you could support my channel by hitting those like and subscribe buttons. You can now become a channel member as well, and thank you for watching this video, and I hope to catch you in the next one.